Actually, when you think you may not be coming back, you start to get melancholy about your time. And one of the pieces of advice I give to both the juniors and the seniors is find someone who will take up the fight when you are gone. Like, I don't represent a lot of Jews where I am. The Republican Jewish Coalition can meet around my kitchen table in South Brevard. But as the only Jewish member in the majority party, I've sort of had to take on a lot of this, and I do it proudly. And I'm very excited to watch you be able to pick up that mantle along with our Democratic Jewish friends as we move forward. I am going to tell a story. Well, before I do that, I want to thank, there's 80 plus Representative Rainer Goolsbee. I don't think she's up there yet, but there will be 81 up there. So there's 39 or so left if you all want to join us. And we don't see a list that long all that often, and it is kind of nice. I am going to tell you a story that I've never told anyone in my entire life. My parents don't know this story. My children don't know this story. And I wasn't planning to tell this story, but Representative Caruso made me feel compelled to do it. He mentioned that today is Adolf Hitler's birthday. It's also somebody else's birthday. It's mine. And I don't ever make a big deal about it for a reason. So I am the child of Holocaust survivors. No one directly, but I had aunts and uncles who ended up in the camps. My family members went and helped liberated the camps. And when I was born on April 20th, they didn't tell me the day I was born, but as I got older, my parents told me that it was probably a sign that their son, who was a fighter, was born on that same day. They told me that when I was a kid. But they weren't the only ones that told me that when I was a kid. When I was in first grade, and on my birthday on April 20th, one of the kids I went to school with decided to tell me, hey, guess what? It was Hitler's birthday that day too. And in second grade, one of the kids, probably a couple of kids, decided to tell me it was Hitler's birthday that day too. Too bad he didn't finish off. In the third grade, and in fourth grade, and in every year until I left for college, at least one, sometimes more, would remind me on my birthday who I shared my birthday with. It's why I don't make a big deal out of it, because for me, there's a great deal of melancholy that comes with sharing that day. And I've seen it. I want to tell you a couple stories about a couple of children. For those who mention the cause of blacks and Jews being similar, the Jews are very involved in the NAACP and the creation and in all of the civil rights marches. And so actually we brought up a group of black students and Jewish students this year, and they came and they met with me in my office, and I talked to them about this bill. And I asked them if any of them had ever experienced the kinds of things that we're talking about. Many of you mentioned the flyers that are thrown. And a 16-year-old girl raised her hand, and she said, yeah, I was at home alone. And I went outside to check the mail, and I saw a piece of paper in some box in an envelope, and I picked it up. And I opened it up, and it was a flyer. And it wasn't a flyer filled with opinions. It was a flyer that basically said, we're going to get you. She was home alone. She was scared. And she ran down the street looking for an adult that she knew that might help her. And she noticed that flyer only sat in the driveways of the Jews who lived in that neighborhood. They drove down and they did that. Jews have never been welcome anywhere since we were kicked out of Israel for more than a couple of hundred years. And there are Jews in this state right now that are so afraid they sleep today with a packed suitcase under their beds, because this has risen. And when we hear the opponents, and you guys are all going to get grief for voting for this, and people will call and they will say, this is about speech. This is about speech. There's no right to intimidate. There's no right to threaten. But here's what's interesting. We heard this bill in 3 committees in the Florida House. I don't know how many has been heard in the Senate thus far. And in every one of those committees, anyone could come, get a microphone, stand up and speak. And the same Nazis who scared old people and children outside of Chabad, the same Nazis who projected those images on those buildings, the same Nazis that distributed those flyers on those driveways, the same ones that put those banners over highways, guess how many came to avail themselves of their freedom of speech? Not one. And you all know me, I'm good at goading people. I made it clear in each one of those speeches, basically, I dare you to come. And nobody came. This isn't about speech. It isn't about people voicing their opinion. For those who get grief, welcome to my world. I think I'm the only member of the Florida House who had someone arrested, prosecuted, and jailed for a death threat. I may get a lot more now, and so may some of you, but it's not fun. The kind of hate mail you get's an average Tuesday in my office. My aides just don't even pay attention to most of it. Unless they really say they're going to kill me, we don't even send it on. And that's just something that I have gone to deal with. But I want to tell you one other story, and the reason I'm so focused on this, and then I'll close with a quote. Another child whose father swore would never face what his dad did when he was in 6th grade, because of the scourge for children that is social media, was on a chat group with some of his friends. And one of those kids on the group decided it was a good idea to paint a mustache on his face and put a little swastika on the wall and stand up and do the Heil Hitler salute and send it around. Boy, wouldn't this be fun. And he put it out to all the kids in this group. And I think the kids didn't know what to do. You know, hate is learned. You don't believe. This little kid, 6th grade. I don't even know how you could hate that much then. But this kid didn't know what to do. So he kept it to himself all year until one of his friends, because this continued all year, one of his friends went and told their mom, who called my wife, and told us about the stuff that our son was seeing. I almost resigned from the legislature that day because I felt like I had failed my own child. I'd promised that these things wouldn't happen to him. That's what inspired us in 2019. This is where I want to leave you with hope. We have this incredible rise in anti-Semitism in Florida today. There's one place where we really don't have it, and that is in our schools and on our university campuses. And there's a reason. In 2019, we said enough is enough, and we passed the most anti-Semitism bill in the history of the United States. Whether you like him or not, President Trump modeled that when he did an executive order at the federal level to deal with this on college campuses. And it has largely stopped. We don't have those problems on our college campuses that they do in the rest of the country, but we do have this one. So what we know is these bills can work. Now, there is a Lutheran preacher named Reverend Bonhoeffer who was killed himself during World War II. He said very famously before he died that silence in the face of evil is evil itself. So when you put your names up there, when you speak as you have, when you tell these people who will write you, they can pound sand. When you say to Jews that you will be safe, and you say to everyone, we can disagree about things in this room, but no one should be safe. No one should be unsafe. No one should be threatened. No one should be beaten up. No one should have what happened to me on my birthday for 18 years happen to them. No one should have that happen to them. When we vote today and we put our names up there, we are saying to the face of evil that we will not be silent, that we will not put up with these things. And in Florida, when we say never again, we mean it. I ask for your favorable support.